Episode titled Mysterious House. It was a normal morning. Mummy Pig said it was a good day for a walk. Daddy Pig put on his hat, George picked up his dinosaur, and Peppa ran to the front door. The sun was shining outside and everything seemed calm. Daddy Pig opened the door and took one step forward, but instead of the outside, there was a hallway behind the door. It was narrow and long, with the same wallpaper as the house. At the far end, a small lamp was glowing. Daddy Pig stopped. Mummy Pig looked over his shoulder and said, "That is strange. Perhaps we opened the wrong door." Peppa frowned. It was the front door. She knew it was. Behind it, there was always the path, the yard, and the hill. George quietly said, "Dinosaur," and hid behind Peppa. Daddy Pig closed the door, waited a second, and opened it again. The hallway was still there. The family decided to walk forward a little. The hallway was silent. Pictures hung on the walls, but all of them showed their house from the outside. One picture showed the front door, another showed the kitchen window, a third showed Peppa standing at the door and looking straight at them. Mummy Pig said they should go back. They turned around, but the door they had entered through was gone. In its place, there was a picture on the wall. The picture showed their front door. Daddy Pig tried to touch the handle, but his fingers only touched flat paper. Peppa felt the house grow colder. They walked farther and found another door. Behind it was the living room, but it was not quite their living room. The sofa was in the wrong place. There was no television, and the window did not look outside. It looked into another hallway. Behind the glass stretched a long row of doors. The family went from room to room. The kitchen led to stairs. The stairs led to a cupboard. The cupboard opened back into a hallway. Every door changed the house. Daddy Pig tried to joke, but his voice sounded quieter than usual. Mummy Pig held Peppa's hand, and Peppa held George's. By evening, they found their room. Or almost their room. The beds were in the right places, but a family photograph hung on the wall. Everyone in it was smiling, but near the door behind them stood another Peppa. The real Peppa quickly looked away. That night, they stayed in the room. No one wanted to open any more doors. The house was quiet, but sometimes footsteps could be heard behind the walls. Peppa woke up to a soft knock on the window. She opened her eyes and saw glass, even though their room had never had a window like that before. Behind the window was a hallway. In the hallway stood another pig family, Mummy Pig, Daddy Pig, George, and Peppa. They looked into the room without blinking. Their faces were calm, but too still. The other Peppa raised her hand and knocked on the glass again. Peppa woke Mummy Pig. When everyone looked at the window, the other family was already walking away down the hallway. Only the other Peppa turned back and smiled. Then the window began to darken, as if someone was painting over it from the inside. In the morning, a door appeared in the room, plain and white, with a round handle. Daddy Pig said it might be the way out. Peppa stepped forward first. She slowly opened the door. Behind it stood Peppa, exactly like her, in a red dress with a normal smile. The copy looked at her and said, "Finally! Now it is my turn to leave." And behind her stretched a new hallway full of closed doors. Episode titled Lost Words. The morning began normally. Mummy Pig was making breakfast. Daddy Pig was sitting at the table with a newspaper. Peppa came downstairs, and George was playing on the floor with his dinosaur. Everything seemed calm. Mummy Pig placed the plates on the table and said, "Breakfast is She stopped and frowned, as if she had forgotten the last word. Peppa looked at her. "Did you mean ready?" Mummy Pig smiled and nodded. Daddy Pig said that sometimes mornings started too early. Everyone sat down at the table. George lifted his dinosaur and said, "Dino." Then he stopped. He looked at the toy as if he could not remember its name. Peppa laughed, but the laugh quickly became quieter. Something felt wrong. After breakfast, Peppa went to play with George in the living room. She picked up a block and said, "Let's build a..." But the word disappeared. She knew what she wanted to say. She could see it in her mind, but she could not speak it. George held out his dinosaur and opened his mouth, but only a small sound came out. Peppa ran to Mummy Pig. In the kitchen, Mummy Pig was looking at a shopping list. There were words on the paper, but some letters had vanished. Instead of milk, there was only meat. Instead of apples, only a few letters remained. Mummy Pig touched the page with her finger, but the letters did not return. Daddy Pig came over with his newspaper. He tried to read the headline, but the words on the page slowly spread apart and became empty lines. The house became strangely quiet. At first, everyone still tried to speak. Peppa used short phrases. Mummy Pig replaced words with gestures. Daddy Pig pointed at objects and tried to remember their names. But with every hour, there were fewer words. Simple things no longer had names. A cup became only an object on the table. A door became something that opened. A window became a bright square in the wall. Peppa walked up to George and quietly said, "George?" He lifted his head, but he did not answer. Then Peppa understood that he had forgotten even his favorite word. He held the dinosaur, but he no longer called it anything. His eyes looked confused. Peppa wanted to say that everything would be all right, but she could not remember the word right. By evening, the family sat in the living room. The television was off. No one wanted to turn it on, because even the names of the shows might disappear. Mummy Pig opened her mouth, but said nothing. Daddy Pig wrote something on a piece of paper, but the words vanished under the pencil. Peppa looked at the blank page and felt her mind becoming quieter. Then the names disappeared. Peppa looked at Mummy Pig and suddenly could not name her. She knew that this was the closest and warmest voice in the house, but the word was gone. Daddy Pig looked at Peppa and tried to say her name. His lips moved, but the room remained silent. At night, Peppa woke up. There was not a single sound in the house. She went into the hallway and saw that the words on the family drawings were gone. Even the letters in the books had become empty lines. In the living room, the whole family sat together. They looked at one another and said nothing, not because they did not want to speak, because there were no words left. In the morning, everything looked ordinary. Mummy Pig was in the kitchen. Daddy Pig sat with his newspaper. George held his dinosaur. Peppa opened her mouth to say good morning, but she could not remember a single word. Then, from the turned-off television, a quiet voice spoke the first word of the day, "Peppa," and the whole family slowly turned toward the screen.